Welcome to From the Experts Lens. I am your host, Angela Timberlake. I am the Vice President of Elevate Women with Jax USA Partnership, the Economic Development Division of the Jacksonville Chamber. And I am honored to have this well-respected, well-known, and trusted leader in our community here today, Amy Ruth, Chief HR Officer with GuideWell Florida Blue. Amy, thanks for joining me.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Angela.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're here to talk about retaining talent and sharing things that we need to be thinking about as a business community that puts people first in order for our businesses, the community, the workforce, and our talent to continue to thrive even during challenging times like we're experiencing right now. Now, this year has really just ignited the need to have some tough conversations. We've been thrust into it this year. Many are hoping to go back to normal, and I'm a proponent for going forward to everyone's calling it a new normal, but I'm just saying let's go forward. Let's not go back, because the normal as we knew it wasn't working for so many people. And so this is kind of bringing that to the forefront. And now it's about building a better normal and one that works for more people. So it's really critical for businesses to create sort of that meaningful change and sort of meet people where they are. And so the term that it's being called right now is a caregiver crisis. Right. And for me, it's a working parent's challenge. Right. And this has been brought to the forefront, and it's impacting the C-suite all the way to, people working multiple jobs, just trying to put food on their table. For some people, it's forcing a decision of choosing between their career or their family. And so for that reason, I've invited Amy here to talk about this and what they're doing to somewhat minimize that burden for their people. So Amy, I'm eager to hear about you, what you guys are doing from a leadership team, and how you're thinking through this. So what I'd like to know is, what's the state, what's the pulse of your community right now?
Well, we sit here talking today. It is the 17th of December. People are tired. I think the whole world is tired. 2020 has been a tough year to navigate, but I'm proud of our organization because we didn't miss a beat. And as I started this year, we have had on our agenda for a number of years, actually, the ability to increase our remote workforce and have more people working remotely, and was met, honestly, with a fair amount of resistance by certain leaders in the company. And it's amazing how that's just evaporated for obvious reasons this year. And so I'm with you on that. We want to move forward. We want to reimagine what work can look like. And we've been busy trying to do that as we've tried to lift everybody up and carry everybody through, not only our organization, but the community as well.
Yeah, I can imagine, in every business, every leader is sort of been thrusted into this and trying to figure it out as we go. So I don't think there's any shortage of anyone being tired right now. So I think we all feel the same. But I appreciate you talking about that and talking about the remote workforce. What are the other things? I know you've talked about this a variety of different ways. What are some of the other things that you're providing for your remote workforce?
Well, it's interesting because when we, like everyone, when we started down this path, we didn't know how long the road was going to be, and we didn't know exactly where it was going to take us. So we started with the basics and have iterated as we've gone through the year. I think about as we got going, it was get equipment in the hands of employees that may not have had a computer at home. And job number one was keep everybody healthy and safe. So we went through a process of working to identify what everybody needed, providing them computer equipment, possibly cell phone service and or phone support in order to be able to help them do their jobs. And then we sort of got settled, and then it became things like ergonomics. How do we still care for your ability to be healthy and effective at home. And in case you're sitting at the dining room table with two little kids off to the side, how do we help create the environment that you can do? And that was a challenge for us because it required some different thinking. Most recently, we just did a $50, every employee, we put a credit online, and if you needed office supplies, we gave you up to $50 to spend on office supplies, because we realized people might have needs. And how do we get it if you can't go to the cabinet in the hallway at the office to get it? So we've tried to take a holistic view and an evolving view in time to help care for people. But that's the physical work part. There's the mental struggle and the challenge that has come with all the crazy that came with 2020, and trying to make sure that we put mental health resources out there for people. And we gave them tips and tools on how do you navigate this. We looked at our benefits programs, our policies. There's so much that when you have a diverse workforce, not one size fits all isn't going to work, right? So you got to meet people where they're at, stay in a listening mode, and help care for the whole person that's working with you.
Yeah, I love it. Now, how did you do that? How did you, as an organization, listen? Did you already, have those mechanisms in place? I think because that's some of the challenges. How do you know what benefits, what people need?
Well, we do have that in place. So I'm very grateful. It's fortuitous. There's some things we've been doing over these past series of years that took on new meaning this year. About 4 years ago, at the start of the current administration, we had some concerns from our workforce about hatred growing, and we were afraid at the time it was a workforce issue, and they assured us it wasn't. It was in the community itself. But could we help them? So we began some employee forums where we would take on some of the difficult topics like politics and civility, or race, or personal safety when you might be facing a discriminatory act of violence. So we took on all kinds of issues, transgender 101. We helped our organization know and understand that. So we've been on a journey through years of listening and engaging in direct dialogue for our workforce. The other thing that we do is we do pulse surveys so we can listen on specific topics. What's the feedback you have to give us? Pat does a blog. Pat Garrity, our CEO, does a blog several times a year where he just gets online or verbally. We've been doing them verbally because of the pandemic this year. But he gets online and just has conversation with employees. He and I do let's chat sessions with employees. If you can think of a creative way to engage in communication with your team, you should be doing that right about now, because people have a variety of needs and concerns, and they may not be direct in terms of the work that they do, but it affects their ability to do that work. And so we've tried to stay with our team and help them from like I said, whole person perspective.
That's great. That's great, especially for somewhere here where our workforce is comprised of a variety of different communities, right? And so,
Right.
as you said, one size is not going to fit all. So that's going to serve you well going forward, because you can get straight to that person who can actually describe what they're experiencing. And do you see that people are willing and open to share their concerns with you?
They are. It's profound. We did a few years ago, we did an employee forum on surviving a tragedy. And when we planned this event, we were thinking about things like the Pulse nightclub shooting and I'm forgetting the name of the school in South Florida, but the shooting at the school in South Florida. We were thinking of big community type of events. And when we do these events, we bring in people from our EAP, we bring in outside experts, depending on what the topic is, and senior leaders in the company who may represent that or have lived an experience as well. So we have a variety of people. And what we found in that session was really profound, because employee after employee stood up and said, my uncle was murdered. My aunt, my mother died when I was a child in a car accident, and I was in the car. And you began to see this, it was personal. It was about me, the person, in where we were thinking more macro, they were thinking personal. And it unleashed this amazing opportunity for everybody to begin to see each other differently and experience some of the heartache people carried around with them every day, which led us down the path of doing sessions on mental health and the ability to help navigate. A year ago, we implemented, 2 years ago now, actually, I think, we implemented a caregiver leave benefit. Who would know 2 years ago how meaningful that would become in the very near future? But why did we do that 2 years ago? Like, what prompted us? Employees said that's the biggest struggle that they face. And then as we went through this year, of course, we're hearing, oh my God, we don't know what we would have done without it, because that's a 2-week paid time off for people who were navigating this, and it gave people the flexibility they needed. We allowed employees this year, maybe you have to care for your children, you had to get your kids through school. So as this began, maybe you worked from 6 to 9 or 7 to 9, and then you took an hour break during the day to figure out what you needed to do, and then you picked it back up again. And so we started embracing non-traditional schedules to try to meet people where they're at. The most important thing for us, we're an important community steward. We have a significant portion of the state are members of our organization. And first and foremost, we want to make sure we can continue to care for the member. And in order to do that, you have to care for your workforce. You have to bring your team to a healthy place to be able to be productive. So that, when Pat and I first started talking about moving remotely this year, that's job number one. Let's keep everybody as safe as we can and stay listening, stay connected so we can meet their needs.
That's great. And as you said, who would have thought, that you would have been ahead of the game with the caregiver? Because that's yeah, right. Because that's what we're hearing right now is the biggest challenge for a lot of working parents, moms especially, because we carry such a mental, emotional burden that goes along with just our jobs, because we're thinking about the entire family. So that's such a tremendous help to them. So my question is, how are you making sure that you're not building up resentment for people that don't fit in sort of these need pockets, right? We talked about not every answer it's a one size fits all, but you have to be cautious, I would think, not to sort of single out those single employees that maybe don't fit in those areas. Are you seeing that? Are you concerned about that at all?
Well, we listen for that. We monitor that. But, organizationally, we have a very comprehensive benefit program that we offer. And it's never been one size fits all. But we've, with intention, started moving down a path of what are the number one concerns that are preventing our team from being their best self at work. A couple of years back, we added a parental leave benefit for birth or adoption of a child. And more often than not, the feedback other than gratitude from people who were able to advantage that benefit were people who wished they had it when they were having their children, right? So what we're finding with the benefit programs of the future, I think, are less one size fits all and more specific options to help meet the needs of people based on where they're at in their life. So always working with our workforce to say, what is it that you need? What can we be doing with you to make your experience here better and make you want to stay with us as we move forward?
That's great. Now, the research is showing that there could be a mass exodus of women, especially women leaders, stepping away from their jobs. They're estimating this year alone, given all the challenges, we could experience 2 million women leaving the workforce, which is staggering.
Yes.
So are you seeing this? Are you seeing that there are less women available, or that people are checking out because of the pandemic?
We are not seeing that actually, and in fact, have had really strong retention of our workforce this year. And I think it's for me, it's a factor of the type of organization we are at a time when there's a global pandemic. So I think for us, we've heard overwhelming gratitude from our workforce because our organization is so stable. And we're not. We have had a large number of people trying to join us because of that. So that's give me that problem all day long, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing. But it's also a sign of our organizational health and our reputation, and that's something we've worked hard to maintain in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
But I definitely agree with you. I read all kinds of trade magazines and research, and especially more in the service organizations and that type of industry, you do see more and more women that just can't, based on the type of job they have, it makes it almost impossible for them to balance all of that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I hope we continue to address that as we move forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other population too is senior executives and senior leaders. A study was done that shows that even though the organization has benefits and had flexible work arrangements, that the culture wasn't conducive. And so even those working parents or women chose not to take advantage of those benefits. So how does Fleur Blue set the tone that it's acceptable and somewhat of a priority to take advantage?
We talk about it. We talk about it openly. One of my favorite conversations, and I can't remember which forum we were in, but with Pat Garrity, was him talking about at the beginning of this, the adaption of all of the different struggles, and knowing not only for him personally with children in his home that have to go to school and all of that, but you look across, and for people, for me, don't suffer in silence. Don't try to navigate it on your own. Be willing to talk about it and share and create the environment where people can acknowledge it. I don't have children, but this has been a hard year, and it's been challenging on a number of fronts for people for very different reasons. And we have to be able to help each other through. And you can't really do that unless you're openly sharing and talking about it and removing the stigma. So we talk about our benefits, and we celebrate that people are able to use them. And we talk about the struggles sometimes and the things that we're doing to overcome that, because we'll make it through together, and we'll be able to lift each other up together. So for me, there shouldn't be any stigma for that, because if we're really honest, everybody's going through something this year. It's kind of hard not to be. And we got to care for each other and help each other through.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, I'm so thankful that you have such a strong leadership team, and it starts at the top, right? That culture really starts at the top, and if you lead by example, you sort of eradicate any of those stigmas that come along
That's
with
right.
sort of the senior leadership. So thank you for doing that. Now, what would you say? This is just sort of, how do we tie this up? What would be some of the recommendations? What would you, if you had one piece of advice to give our business community, how to think through putting their people first, what would you recommend?
Start with your people. Ask your people where are they? How are they doing? What do they need? And think differently about your role and how you can help meet their needs. We had, our commercial kitchens. We have two significant commercial kitchens on our campus, our primary campus here in Jacksonville. And we had food at the beginning that wasn't going to be used. And not only did we find ways to support the community through that, but the leadership team got together and made personal donations into a bank and allowed, at a time when we're struggling to find food in grocery stores, we allowed our employees who had a need to come pick up food on campus that we paid for, that we supplemented the cost for. And it didn't carry through the entire year. It didn't revolutionize anybody's life, but it let them know we were there to prop them up and we were there to help them. Totally different than anything we've ever thought of before. And not sure it will ever come up again. But it was meeting the need where the need was. And you can't do that unless you're listening to the workforce and you're understanding what their struggle is. So I think a lot of times, for me, especially in bigger organizations, it's easy to get distance from the voice of your worker, your team member, you're part of your family, and you can't do that. You have to stay in listening mode and be willing to meet them where they're at.
So well said. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, for those of you watching, if you have questions, if you have suggestions or comments, as you're watching this, continue to, use the comments, and we'll have the conversation continue to flow. We'll make sure that Amy answers any questions. Our goal is really just to bring awareness to what's working, what are some suggestions and ideas for our business community, because we're still adapting. We might still be adapting through next spring. So, it's always great to hear what's working for somebody else and at least get the ideas. And this year is it's been so heavy. It's been so heavy for so many, but I see it as an opportunity to be part of a way forward and to create a future where everybody has the same opportunity to be successful in their personal and professional lives. And that's the whole goal of Elevate Women. Amy, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you and your leadership team are doing to make this a reality for so many women and caregivers. As they try to hold it together, right? I think that's what everybody's just trying to do, hold it together. And the hope is not having to make that tough decision between choosing their career over versus their family. So thank you for making that a possibility at Florida Blue.
You bet.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. Stay tuned for the next episode of From the Experts Corner, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.